Hi, this is Steve Rose at the Listening Post, and I'm going to talk today about Peter Green and the original incarnation of Fleetwood Mac. Back in the 70s, when all the kids here in San Jose were listening to FM stations KSJO and KOME, Santana had a big hit off his second album called Black Magic Woman. And one day the disc jockey mentioned that that was a cover of a tune by a band called Fleetwood Mac, who at the time weren't real popular. They hadn't, gone ballistic yet with Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. They had, at the time, were more of a jazz rock group with Bob Welch pretty much being their leader. But, I heard about Black Magic Woman being a cover of a Peter Green song, and I perked my interest and made me seek out some of their stuff. And I discovered this just wonderful British blues guitarist, Peter Green, who for a short period of time was, the leader of one of the most popular acts in Britain between 1968 and 1970. Little did I know Fleetwood Mac outsold the Beatles. So I'm going to talk a little bit about him. They did three albums between 1968 and 1970. Peter Green came out of a group called John Mayall's Blues Breakers. And back in the 60s, the British invasion was basically comprised of two camps. There were the pop groups like the Beatles and Herman's Hermits that pretty much occupied top 40 AM radio at the time. And then there were the blues devotees, the Rolling Stones, the Pretty Things, to some extent the Yardbirds, and of course John Mayall. And evidently the second wave of those blues acts were led by Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green. He came out of John Mayall's Blues Breakers, where he met bassist John McVeigh and was reunited with Mick Fleetwood. The two of them had played earlier in a band called Shotgun Express, and evidently Mick Fleetwood got kicked out of the Blues Breakers in 1967 for drinking too much. So Peter Green left the group and along with John McVeigh formed Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. And they released three albums. I just happen to have them right here. The first one was called Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. And it's basically Peter Green and Jeremy Spencer, who's just a tremendous slide guitar player in the style of Elmore James. This album is very much sounds like a bunch of covers of Chicago and Delta blues, but if you actually look at the credits, Peter Green and Jeremy Spencer wrote most of the songs themselves. And Jeremy Spencer does a great cover of the Elmore James tune, Shake Your Moneymaker. And Peter Green does a nice original called I Loved Another Woman. After this album came out, they released one more album called Mr. Wonderful. And in addition to the original quartet, they added the horn section from Ted Nugent's first band, the Amboy Dukes. And they also added a piano player named Christine Perfect from another British blues group called the Chicken Shack. In 1970, Christine Perfect would marry bassist John McVeigh and become Christine McVeigh. So Mr. Wonderful got some more good stuff on it. It's got Love That Burns, one of the best Peter Green songs that he did. And then in 1969, they came out with a third album. By this time, they had added a third guitarist, Danny Curran. And he was brought on primarily because Jeremy Spencer really wasn't supportive of Peter Green's music and just wanted to basically do slide guitar. And so they recruited Danny Curran, who was just 18 years old at the time. And what they did was they repackaged Mr. Wonderful for American audiences, called it English Rose. And they added a couple of Danny Curran originals to it, and they also included a couple of singles, Black Magic Woman and another song called Albatross. Albatross was an instrumental written by Peter Green that was #1 in England, and evidently so impressed George Harrison of the Beatles that he patterned his guitar playing on Sun King after Albatross. Now what happened next was Peter Green left the group. He evidently was heavy into LSD and had some mental issues, and he dropped out in 1970 after their third album, at which point the band changed direction, got a little bit away from the Chicago blues, went into more of a folk, kind of a jazzy style. They brought on Bob Welsh and released several excellent albums. Future Games and Bare Trees are both worth seeking out. And then after a few albums, Bob Welsh left, and the rest is history. They brought in Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, and just went off the charts with the next couple of albums. But I just want to plug Peter Green. I discovered him just because of a DJ mentioning that Santana had covered Black Magic Woman, and I just want to recommend that you seek him out. I think you'll be well rewarded. Once again, Steve Rose, and signing off the Listening Post.